Hi everyone, Robin here, and it's time for part 2 of What If Ash Caught Larvitar. So without further ado, let's begin. From this point onward, the story mostly goes the same, but Ash is working with Pupitar and trying to learn how to use his new form. Instead of moving on above ground, Pupitar instead decides to use his stick to actually move around the battlefield, and instead of avoiding it, he uses Harden to take them better before unleashing Rock Slide and Hidden Power from afar, forcing their opponents back. In the beginning, Larvitar has a bit of struggle with this, seeing how it doesn't really use this strategy before, but it eventually gets to do it a bit better. Other things go the same with Make Catch and Skitty, until we get to the episode Zig-Zag Zangoose. At first, the story goes mostly as a midi-canon, when the game reunites Nikolai, who is a original like the rest of a Pokemon. However, when Ash and Nikolai have a battle, and he sends out his Zangoose, Zangoose notices something in the bushes. And when he rushes into it, all of a sudden Team Rocket pops out, but following them is Zangoose, but also Seviper. The game is surprised seeing Seviper here again. However, when Seviper looks around, it actually spots Trico, and with that, it actually starts to ignore Zangoose and actually starts approaching Trico. The group is surprised seeing how Seviper and Zangoose are natural enemies, but with Meow there, it actually translates that ever since Seviper lost to Trico, it had been following Trico in order to improve and also getting a chance on a rematch. Zangoose gets frustrated about that though, thinking that it's going to battle Seviper. But Seviper said that he will take care of Zangoose after Trico. Decided to take the opportunity to Team Rocket suggests that it's Zangoose and Trico have a battle, and the winner gets to face Seviper. When Zangoose and Trico agree to it, eventually there's not much anything else can do, and so the battle between Trico and Zangoose begins, and both of them immediately charging in with speed. While Zangoose had the power, Trico's agility and smaller size allows him to quickly avoid Zangoose's attack, and is able to use Bullet Seed to attack from afar. Seviper is watching the battle though with intense fascination, not only at Zangoose's ferocity, but also at Trico's speed. During the battle, however, Meow decided to ask Seviper why so interested in Trico. Seviper explained that while he was back home, he was the strongest, and no one could challenge it. But all of a sudden, this Trico just killed it and defeated it and just left. This will not stand for Seviper. He was not going to allow that. So, he decided to go all this way, just to prove to Trico who's the truly strongest. Back to the battle, it all comes down to a final collision of a diving spinning pound from Trico and a crush claw from Zangoose. And in the end, Trico is the winner, meaning it's now time for Seviper's battle against Trico. But with Brock there, he insists that Trico gets a chance to rest. So with that, the group actually started to have some lunch. With the topic of how Seviper had been following Trico all this way, I'd actually compliment Seviper that it can appreciate his endurance and perseverance. Eventually, the battle between Seviper and Trico begins. The battle between the two immediately becomes one of speed. Seviper charging in with Bite and Poison Tail, while Trico using Quick Attack and Pound to striking hard. When Trico is that far back, he's actually able to fire off a Bullet Seed which hits Seviper, but just then Seviper reveals that he has not been laying low and actually charging in with a secret power. Not knowing what it does, Trico takes the hit but immediately falls asleep. Brock reveals that secret power actually has a secondary effect depending on when the battle takes place. And seeing how this battle took place on grass, it actually caused Trico to fall asleep. Ash just gets to Trico to wake up. However, it does not do so, so Seviper immediately charging in with a Poison Tail. The blow, however, is enough to wake up Trico, and Trico uses the momentum from the Poison Tail to deliver a spinning pound to Seviper's head. However, Seviper is able to take it this time around. So whenever Seviper tries going close with Poison Tail and Secret Power, Trico uses a Quick Attack to quickly dodge that away before striking quickly with Pound. Eventually, they have a final clash of Quick Attack and Secret Power, but in the end, both of them fall, resulting in a double knockout. While I rush over to them to see if they're okay, all of a sudden a net falls on both of them, revealing that Team Rocket decided to take the opportunity to capture the Viper and Trico as well. Fortunately, Team Rocket is quickly defeated and then blasting off, and in the meantime, Seviper and Trico are both put to rest in order to heal from their injuries. As they lay down, Seviper and Trico actually start talking, Trico respecting Seviper's strength, and Seviper also showing respect for Trico's speed. While they do talk, they even start talking a bit about Ash. Eventually, both of them are healed, and it's time for Seviper to have his battle with Zangoose. As the battle immediately begins, Zangoose is using zigzag movement in order to disorient Seviper, and eventually the Viper started to grow tired. Just then, however, Ash actually cheers on the Viper and telling it to do its best. That encouragement is actually enough for the Viper, so when Sango tries to charge in with a finishing Crush Claw, the Viper quickly veers out of the way before striking with a Poison Tail, which delivers a critical blow, causing Sango to stagger back before a secret power knocked down Zangoose. Ash cheers on the Viper, really winning, but when it was time for the Viper to leave, it actually stopped and stopped looking at Ash. Everyone being confused, but Brock realizes that maybe the Viper wanna go with Ash, asking if it's all true, and the Viper nods before looking toward Trico, seeking to ask for permission. Trico is a bit surprised by it, but decides to not, respecting the Viper's strength and believing that having another Pokemon dedicated enough to follow him this far would be a good addition to the team. And so, after the Pokeball, and the Viper is officially added to the team. Everything from this point onward goes mostly the same as the canon, with May winning her first Pokemon contest, and our game finally reaching Larvitar, and it's time for Ash to have his next gym battle against Flannery. The battle is a 3-on-3, and just like in canon, the battle starts out with Macargo with Corphish. Just like in canon, Corphish is able to get the first win, and with Flannery in Slugma, Ash decides to rotate into the Viper. The Viper immediately launches into a flurry of attacks, striking hard with Poison Tail and Secret Power. But when Slugma lands at John, the Viper falls asleep, so Ash decides to rotate into Pikachu, who is able to finish it off, which leaves only Torkoal left. While Pikachu does it best, Torkoal's Iron Defense is very strong, and in the end Pikachu is taken out by an overheat. So Viper comes back in, and while it's asleep, it's able to take one overheat before waking up, before charging in with the Poison Tail, and while Torkoal is able to block with an Iron Defense, it tries to launch another overheat, but the Viper using haste to block its view allows it to get away before landing a Secret Power. Torkoal is able to take a hit though and launch another overheat, and the Viper is taken down. However, at this point, Overheat is weakened so much, so when Ash switches into Corvette again, Overheat barely does anything. So Corvette is able to fire a Bubble Beam, which but the land before shooting it with a Crab Hammer. Flannery tried that Torkoal go into a shell with an Iron Defense, but all of a sudden it's paralyzed, revealing that the secret power which Survivor used earlier managed to paralyze it. And so one Crab Hammer allowed Corvette to take Torkoal down, meaning Ash gets his 4th gym badge. After this, the journey continues toward Petalburg City, and everything goes mostly the same as the canon, with Ash eventually catching Torkoal in the Valley of Steel. However, here is where we're into a problem. Ash already has 6 Pokemon on his team, so he cannot just keep going now, because now he has 1 Pokemon too many. Eventually, he decides to send Tilo to the lab for a bit, so he can get some more bonding time with Torkoal, and keep on working with Pupitar. After that, things go just like they did in canon, with May getting another contest ribbon, Brock's Lotad evolving into Lombre, Trico evolving into Grovyle, and eventually the game reaches Petalburg City for Ash's 5th gym battle. Norman starts by leading with Slackoff, as Ash decides to go with Pupitar. Luckily for Ash, since Slackoff doesn't really move, Pupitar is able to attack freely by using Rock Slide, as well as using Dig, which allows it to move in closer. Slackoff doesn't really attempt to dodge, it's occasionally swaying to the side to avoid digs, but it doesn't really do much, so I decided to try going close with a Rock Slide. However, that is when Slackoff unleashes a Blizzard from up close, which severely hurt Pupitar, so I decided to switch in Torkoal. Just like in canon, Torkoal is able to defeat Slackoff before Vigor comes out and takes Torkoal down. I decided to send Pupitar back in as an nod to their first battle. However, Vigor's superior speed allows us to strike Pupitar multiple times. Eventually, I realized that he needs to play defensive and tell Pupitar to start using Harden. And eventually, he just keeps on doing that. Everyone is just confused. Even if Harden boosts defense enough, Vigor's raw power should be enough to push through eventually. After I keep encouraging Pupitar to keep using Harden, just then something changed. Eventually, Pupitar gets so strong, and at that point, the protective layer around it actually seems to harden to metal. When Vigor strikes it, a claw actually breaks, revealing that Pupitar had learned Iron Defense. That move is such a shock that no one has time to register it, which allowed Ash to call on a power, and the move strikes Vigor off, knocking it out. Everyone is surprised by it, but Norman compliments that Pupitar definitely had grown since the last time they met. With that, Norm is in his fight with Pokemon Slacking, which is able to take down Pupitar with an Earthquake. And so, Ash and in Grovyle and Ghislaine Cannon, Grovyle is able to win, meaning Norm is defeated and Ash gets his 5th gym badge. Once the battle is completed, Ash decided he wanted to bring Taylor back for a bit, but when it comes to which Pokemon to send to the lab, Ash decided to send Pupitar for now, thinking that Pupitar wanted to see his mother again and show how much he'd grown, and just spending some time together. After this, things pretty much unfold just like they did in canon, with May catching her Bulbasaur, Taylor evolving into Swallow, May Torchic evolving into Combustion, and Jay from Team Rocket also catching his Chimecho. And with all that out of the way, the game finally reached Fortree City, meaning it's time for Ash to take part in a 6th gym battle. The battle is a 3-on-3, and going with Ash's new approach on not relying on one Pokemon over another, he decided to lead this battle with Torkoal, and against we know that Altaria, this battle is vastly different. Other than trying to outspeed it like he did with Grovyle, he instead have Torkoal use Iron Defense whenever Altaria getting close, and counter Dragon Breath with Flamethrower. Eventually, Altaria tried to use Clothing to that, but that allowed Torkoal to jump up and deliver powerful body slams, which severely hurt Altaria. Eventually, Altaria gets weakened, so when they try to go over Dragon Breath, Torkoal counters it with Overheat. The two moves collide, and Overheat wins again, and is able to take down Altaria, but Torkoal is exhausted. Next is Pelipper, and I decided to go on with Pikachu, and having trained his newer Pokemon to catch up with his old one, Pikachu in return have also leveled up a bit, so when the clash ends, Pikachu is still able to stand, meaning it's down to Renena's last Pokemon, Swallow. However, with Pikachu already exhausted, it won't be able to battle too long and eventually taken down with an Aerial Ace. Next is Torkoal, and is able to use his Iron Defense and Flamethrower to hit Swallow for a bit. However, Swallow's speed and power is almost too much, and when it comes down to a clash of Overheat and Hyper Beam actually wins out and Torkoal falls. Next is Ash's final Pokemon, his own Swallow, and this matchup goes just like in canon, and in the end, Swallow managed to win, meaning Ash officially earned his 6th gym badge. The journey continued, and Ash decided to bring back Pupitar, while this time sending Torkoal to the lab. This doesn't really change anything at all, since things mostly goes the same as they did in canon, with May getting another contest ribbon, as well as the encounter with a Magma and Team Aqua taking place. And at this point, we finally reached Mossdeep City, where Ash will have his next gym battle against the double gym leader, Tate and Liza. This is the very first gym battle Ash is taking part of that is actually a double battle, and he decided to send in out his two Pokemon, Swallow and Viper. Tate and Liza, as well as Ashman, is a bit confused why Ash using Pokemon that literally have been resistant against Tate and Liza Pokemon, Solrock and Lunatone, but Ash explaining that he believes that the two of them have enough power and speed to be able to outmaneuver them. As the battle goes on, Solrock and Lunatone is moving in perfect sync, using a Light Rune to deflect attacks and using a powerful combination of Solar Beam and Ice Beam, severely weakening both Swallow and Viper. Swallow using a combination of double team combined with Viper's haste causes the cloud cover to allowing Swallow to charge in with the Aerial Ace, which is able to strike but is not doing too much damage. Eventually, Taylor and Liza decide to focus all their power on Viper, but using its limited mobility, Viper is able to avoid it before jumping up on Lunatone using a Bite. Hack is so decent damage, but just then, Lunatone fires from an Ice Beam striking Viper, knocking it down. Swallow tries to interfere, but Solrock keeps it at bay, so whenever Viper lands a bite, Lunatone quickly knocks it away with an Ice Beam. I tried that Viper using different attacks like Poison, Hail, and Secret Power, however, it does not go well, so eventually Viper continued to use a leading Bite. In the meantime, Swallow tried to use a double team and early to knock down Solrock to help Viper, but Solrock is able to take them and strike him with Solar Beam, which forces Swallow back. Lunatone is about to finish off with another Ice Beam, but after Viper to give it all he has. So Viper is able to get up, and once Ice Beam's fire, Viper using his agile mobility to quickly avoiding it, but as Viper makes a leap in order to bite down on Lunatone, this time around, the teeth actually take on a green glow. So when it bites down, it not only injures Lunatone, but seems to actually heat up Viper. Surprising the group, but it appears that Viper have learned the move Giga Drain. Being excited about it, I decided to take the opportunity and has Swallow shot in with an Aerial Ace on Lunatone as Viper lets go, striking it hard. And with that, Viper unleashes another Giga Drain, this time on Solrock, and started draining it of energy. Eventually, it shakes it off, and both Solar and Lunch fire off a combination of Ice Beam and Solar Beam. However, Swallow is able to use a double team to confuse them, which allows the Viper and Swallow to charging in with another air relays and bite. And so both of them fall, and Ash officially earned his 7th gym badge, and with that, it's only one gym to go. At this point, Ash is starting going quite confident in his strategy. Seeing that how he had trained his newer Pokemon to catch up to his older ones has gone so well, he now believes he'd be able to take on anyone. That changed, however, when he runs into Elite 4-member Drake, who challenged him to battle. When Drake sent in his Shelgon, I decided to send in Pupitar, both being second stage of pseudo legendaries, which doesn't really have much mobility. Pupitar starts by setting it up a Rock Slide and Hidden Power, as Shelgon protects them, and charging in with Dragon Claw, which Pupitar blocks by using Iron Defense. While they're actually able to take the first Dragon Claw, it still does a lot of damage, so when Pupitar tries to fire off another Ancient Power, Shelgon countered with a Flamethrower, which burns through it, striking Pupitar, knocking it out. When Raider sent in Alternate, I decided to go in with Pikachu. Using his small ability and powerful electric attack, is actually able to do a lot of damage on Altaria. However, it's still a Pokemon of an Elite 4 member, and is unfortunately too much and is taken down. After the battle, Drayden walks up to Ash, telling Ash that his idea of using his older Pokemon to help training up his new ones is a good idea. However, they can only be as well as the trainers. So if his trainer starts growing overconfident in his ability, so will his Pokemon. Ash realizes this and promised that he will do better next time, and that when he battles Drake again, he'll be able to beat them. Drake smiles at that, complimenting that that's a good mindset. Hope that Ash can actually back it up. Things from this point on doesn't really change, with May winning another Content Ribbon, Slowed that evolved into Ludicolo, and lastly, Ash casting Snorunt, and he decided to set Pupitar to laugh a bit so he can have a bit more rest after all hard work he had done. And eventually the gang reached the top of the city, where Ash will have his final battle against Gym Leader Juan. This gym battle, however, is going to be way different than anyone Ash ever had. The first run is apparently a double battle, where Ash is allowed to use 5 of his Pokemon, while the gym leader only uses 2. If Ash manages to beat the 2 Pokemon, the match then goes into a second round, where Ash is allowed to use the remainder of his Pokemon, while Juan uses only 3. The battlefield will change between each round, so there will be a completely different battle depending on how Ash fights. When it comes to Pokemon Ash is gonna use, Ash wants to show that he does not need to rely on his older Pokemon, and decides in this battle, he is not going to use Pikachu or Pupitar, but Pokemon he has specifically caught here in the home region in order to show that they have grown just like as he has. First up, as once in Celio and Seaking, Ash decided to start off with Corphish and Snorunt. The duo is actually very effective, as Celio Ice Move doesn't affect either of them that well, and Celio's Torn is able to strike hard, however Corphish is able to use Crab Hammer to counter it. As Celio started to charge up Ice Balls, Ash decided to try something a little risky, and tell Corphish to use Dig in order to dig through the Ice Balls. He actually successful to do so, but the bigger the Ice Ball gets, the more time it takes and more energy Corphish has to do. When the third round breaks, Snorunt uses the platform in order to launch a powerful headbutt, striking Seaking. While he staggers back, Seaking is able then to fire up on Hybrid Mima close, would take down Snorunt. With that added in his next Pokemon, Grovyle, and using a combination of Grovyle's quick mobility and jumping, and Corphish swimming, they are able to approach the 2 of them, and before they launch a double combination attack of Crab Hammer and Leaf Blade on Celio, knocking it out. And as Seaking is about to fire off on Hyper Beam, they are able to counter with both Bullet Seed and Bubble Beam. Their moves are even, allowing Grovyle to land a pound from above, knocking down Seaking. And with that, the third run is completed, and the battlefield changed to one that includes a bit more land. With that, Juan in his next Pokemon loved it, and Ash decided to send in the Viper. However, it became a bit of a problem when Lovely lands a Sweet Kiss and using Water Gun to strike the Viper. However, Viper is eventually able to shake it off before using Bite to getting close, before using Giga Drain. The most surprising one, allowing Lovely's energy to be taken away before Viper launches it up in the air, before striking with a poisoned heal, knocking Lovely out. With that, Juan decides to send in his second to last Pokemon, Whiscash. And as the Viper is about to go in for another Giga Drain, Whiscash is able to catching it before using Tickle, before launching a Hyper Beam, knocking it out. Ash then decides to send in Swallow, and using its speed is able to keep away from Whiscash for a while as it's able to use Surf and Rock Smash to striking hard. Eventually, using a combination of quick attack and air release, Swallow is able to strike Whiscat and before it dies underwater, forcing it onto land, and one more air release knocked it out. However, Swallow is completely spent, so when Juan's final Pokemon Melodic appears, it only takes one Hydro Pump to knock it out. With that, Atchison ending his second to last Pokemon Corphish, and the battle between the water types are even at first. However, while Melodic be able to use Recover in order to keep it healthy, they end striking with Twister, force the Corphish on the back foot. Eventually, Corphish is able to use Dig on the land part on the battlefield before using it from below underwater. Surprising one as the move strikes before Corphish is able to smack it with a Crab Hammer, but that's when Melody uses an Iron Tail to knock it away before another Twister take Corphish out. With that, as it's down to one last Pokemon, as he sends out Grovyle. The ground type immediately rushing in with a quick attack and a leaf blade. As Melody uses an Iron Tail, Grovyle able to use the speed of quick attack to get away before striking. This becomes Grovyle's strategy, using quick attack to getting close before striking with leaf blade, and when Melody tries to counter with Twister or Iron Tail, it jumps back and fights off a bullet he gives from afar. As Melody tries to use Recover to get herself healthy, being struck down by multiple grass type moves all being super effective, Melody started to run out of energy. So in the end, Melody tried to put all his power into a Hydro Pump, but Grovyle able to avoid it before landing a spinning leaf blade which takes down Melody. And with that, Astro officially won his 8th and final gym battle, making him now able to compete in the Hoenn League. And that will be all for today. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all in part 3. Bye!